Alrighty, guys, welcome back. This is Paul Winston. This is the Unbounded Ambition Films podcast, episode number 4. Thank you guys for joining us today. This is going to be a little bit of a different episode. I've got a good friend and frequent collaborator, Adam Boman, joining us on a call here shortly. Just to give you guys a quick little rundown and a little history on Adam and I. We met back in 2015. We were waiting tables together at Red Lobster, and we just kind of hit it off. A lot of common interests in film and whatnot. So we've become pretty good buddies since then, and frequent collaborators, as I said. He's been involved in every project since 2015 that I've been involved in some way, shape, or form. And he's just great energy. You know, he's production assistant is what he started out at, and 6 Feet from the Edge. But even on that project, he ended up doing so much more for us. And the list goes on and on. I'll let him talk about that, and we'll get into that a little deeper once he jumps on the call here. But it's a pleasure to have him on here, and I really hope that you guys enjoy the show. We're just going to kind of go back and forth a little bit. I'm just going to play it by ear. We're going to see how this one turns out, and just kind of take it as it comes. So enjoy the show. Cool, man. Oh, did you get a chance to review or watch that in Netflix film called Cuties?
I watched the trailer, and let me tell you, that's.
I
mean, I'll just start off with that's not anything I'm going to be recommending anytime soon, let alone watching. So,
dude, so when I checked, I don't even know if I saw the full trailer because I saw like a promo or something for it, and I was like, what in the hell is this? Right?
Oh yeah.
And I started hearing people they were talking about it, and I'm like, you guys can't be serious. Like there's actually people that like are standing up for this, that think that this is okay.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I was just kind of blown away, and now that you say you've seen the trailer, give me a breakdown if you can.
Well, basically it's the premise is about girls who are discovering, how to move, how to dance. And, I honestly, I have nothing wrong with that, but this goes into more of it almost goes, because everyone knows what twerking is. It's shaking your ass, it's shaking, part of your body. And like the fact that it's 13-year-old girls shaking their ass just doesn't sound appealing at all. I'm reading a little bit about it, that a lot of people are canceling their Netflix. There's one thing about, inspiring people to dance and inspiring people to, show their emotions, but this it misses the mark completely, to my opinion.
I didn't even, like I said, I don't even think I saw the trailer. I saw like a promo for it on Netflix itself. Like, when you hover over something and it'll show you like a little snippet.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much all I saw about it, and I was like I said, I was just stuck. I was like, what the hell? And the fact that they're actually releasing something like that, and my whole thing is like, where the hell are these girls' parents? Like these little 12-year-old kids that are like, signed off to be in the film. Like, where are their parents?
Well, see, I say you say something like that, but there's also, how many of these shows that are based around like the show like Princesses and Tiara. Like, I've never watched the show, but these little girls, like, I don't even know what I would do with myself if, that was my daughter. 'Cause like, it's a show just about these girls becoming, prima donnas, becoming, not, they're more into their looks than into what their mind is. And, in this day and age when, where there's so much push to get women into science and into, more like worthwhile and helpful things to society. Here they're getting into shows about shaking their ass and, shows about, if I whine and complain, I get what I want.
Oh man, it seems like it's becoming saturated with that. Like I was just having a conversation with a buddy of mine over coffee yesterday. I hadn't seen him in a long time. He came out to Los Angeles from Pennsylvania, East Coast, trying to come out here to be an actor. His desire, it literally saddens me to the core. But the industry has literally destroyed his desire to want to be in the industry at this day and age. And, he's got his own outlook on things, and I've got my own outlook on things, of course, and I've got my own approach just like he does. But it's like, I understand where he's coming from. It's like, why in his perspective, why would he want to be a part of something that he wholeheartedly disagrees with, like where the industry is headed in a lot of ways, not all ways, of course, but in a lot of ways. And but him and I were having this really, really deep conversation, and I had a meeting with my agent just on last week, just the end of last week. I had a meeting with him, and we sat down and we talked about, what's hitting his desk, because I haven't heard from him. Like, I mean, I know it's COVID, so that's something that definitely plays a part of why I haven't heard from him. But any material that is hitting his desk, which is very minimal at the time, of course, it's nothing for me. Mm-hmm. And I'm not playing the victim card. I'm not doing the woe is me. I've never been handed anything in this industry, and I don't expect to be. But at the same time, he has zero jobs for anybody that meets my look. So him and I had a pretty good conversation about it, and it was just kind of, if I didn't have the thick skin that I have at this moment in time, been through, a lot of the rejection and the mental beatdowns that this industry can do to you, I would have probably left the office crying, but like, I've been through so much in this industry and so much rejection and negativity that I was like, okay, cool. Well, it is what it is. There's nothing we could do about it, and he's obviously super proud of me for, producing and doing my own content, because, I mean, that's what brings me to our next point is I honestly believe that the independent filmmaker and people like myself who kind of take the reins of their career in their own hands, I honestly believe that is the future of this industry. And I believe that because there's so many options for people that want to have this, this outlet, or they want to have this kind of opportunity, which many streaming services have offered in this day and age, for them to present their artistic integrity to the world. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I definitely agree with you. To your first point about your friend who just doesn't think, he's right for this industry just because of what's coming out. And you also brought up a good point of the independent film. Just as an example, like take someone like Shia LaBeouf, he's a very method actor, gets very into his craft. And it got to the point that he just stepped away after, I think Fury was his last movie, but he just stepped away because he was done with the whole mainstream of, movie making. And then he got more into independent films. And I watched one of his new films, Peanut Butter Falcon, and it's a really well done. It's a very low budget, but it's a very well done. And he got that chance to be an actual actor rather than, something that's just going to be a blockbuster hit.
Yeah. That's kind of like, I've just heard about that movie actually with Shia LaBeouf, the Peanut Butter Falcon. I was just talking really about it with somebody, and they were telling me how good it was and how much, how highly, they recommend it. And I've always liked Shia's work, and I definitely appreciate his process. I've always appreciated actors like that. Like Daniel Day-Lewis has been one of my favorite actors forever because of the fact that he just takes it to a whole nother level,
I heard one of the craziest stories about how Daniel Day-Lewis got the part for Lincoln. He sent his audition tape to, I think it's Steven Spielberg, I think it was. And in the note, he said, listen to this by yourself in just any room. So Steven Spielberg listened to Daniel Day-Lewis's version of Lincoln, and he could have sworn that's Lincoln right there. And that's how he made his decision of, these actors take risks when they want that insane, intense part where they know that they're going to turn some heads.
The older I get, and then, of course, me on a personal level, so you kind of know where my stance is on the industry and whatnot too. But I'm not the kind of person, and I don't mean any disrespect to my friend that I had coffee with, but I'm not the kind of person to quit. So that's where I'm kind of stuck at this moment in time. I'm kind of stuck at certain levels. I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, because there is so much that I still want to do in this industry. There is still so many stories I want to tell. And I still believe, and I don't think anybody's ever going to be able to change my mind, but I still believe that there is an audience for these stories that I have, that there are some people that would love to hear these and love to experience this different kind of, filmmaking style that a lot of us still want to do. There's a lot of us that are still very much film fans that want to make film, you know. And don't get me wrong, I love popcorn flicks just as much as the next guy. But when it comes to like a very well put together film that's like a masterpiece, you know, like, I mean, it's just something to be said for that, you know. And it's kind of one of those things where I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Like, what's next for me? You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you know, Nawalt is the biggest thing that we've done so far, and it's opening up major doors for me in my career, and it's just continuing. It's just going to continue to do that. But I'm trying to decide, like, where do I fit in? You know what I mean? Where does Paul Winston fit in this whole aspect of things? And I'm still the same guy that I always was when I first moved out here, you know? So it's like I draw inspiration from a lot of different actors, like we're speaking of Shia and Daniel Day. I mean, but again, my whole kind of thing comes back to there's a lot of things that I probably wouldn't get involved with, a lot of projects that I wouldn't get involved with based on pure morals and or beliefs that I personally have. And that just is what it is. And I've made my peace with that, you know? So it's like, if there's a project that came along and, you know, you could shake as much money as you want in front of my face, but if I don't believe in it and, or if it's against something that my moral code basically, or my values, then I'm just not going to do it. And that's the bottom line.
To your earlier point, I definitely know a lot of what you mean in that, you know, when you take on these new projects that you're working on, you're always going to the next level. Like when you did World Is My Stage, or, you know, that was your first real time doing a short. And then when you did 6 Feet from the Edge, that was your first time doing a full length film. And Nawalt's your first time doing like a TV pilot. And every single project that I work with you on, the next project, you already have things that you learned from your last project. And, you know, something like 6 Feet from the Edge, you know, we learned a lot about continuity. We learned a lot about slicing. We learned a lot about, you know, time management. And a lot of that you brought over to Nawalt. And like from here, it only gets better because in Nawalt, we're already learning things that we're going to do better the next time or then and there. And, you know, I know it's not some multi-million-dollar budget, but at the same time, we with the staff that you got, we know how to, you know, make it look like a multi-million-dollar film. And everything from here on out is just going to be you in your next project going, all right, in Nawalt, this didn't work, so we're going to try it this way, or X, Y, and Z. And, you know, same thing with Bronson. You know, we had big hiccups here and there. And, you know, it's all a learning experience. And, you know, every single film set, there's going to be a learning experience.
Totally. Yeah, actually a great point. It's a great way to look at it too. And it's also like, I mean, this is the best education that, you know, any aspiring filmmaker or somebody who wants to be in the industry, this is the best education they can get, is actually just doing it. If you just throw yourself into it, just throw yourself into the fire. You throw yourself out there and you just are willing to fail, willing to learn your way to success. Like that's the only way. And I honestly feel like that's the best education for anybody in any field, not just filmmaking, in any field.
It's, you know, like you said earlier with the, you know, being on set and the attention to detail, things are going to happen. And it's like when we started filming 6 Feet from the Edge, California had the worst drought on record. And the first day we start filming, it rains. And, you know, you could have a panic attack and, you know, call it quits and say, I'm never doing it again, or roll with the punches.
Actually, I remember that really well. That was like, that delayed us for a good, what was it, probably a good hour or so? We had a good little delay there. Yeah.
And it probably made us, you know, that was the reason we went like way long that day.
All those days were long, man. All those days were long. That was an intense shoot because we were jam packing, and we shot that in 2 phases. If you remember, we were jam packing so much. I mean, talking about a 120-page script that we were pumping in. We were shooting. I mean, literally, I think we shot that whole film within 2 weeks, maybe two and a half, maybe two and a half to like pick up some B-roll. But maybe, maybe exactly, maybe keyword there. Yeah. He's like, maybe for real. Exactly. It's like, dude, we were. Oh man, that was. I remember you were sleeping on my couch on some of the nights, weren't you? Didn't you sleep on my couch and we go to set right the next morning?
sleeping on couch, sleeping in cars, because I mean, we would wrap at sometimes 11, 12 at night, and we were there the next day at 6, and it's at that point, why even go home?
Why even go home? Yeah, because it's like, dude, I'm just going to be back in 4 hours, 5 hours. So it's like,
and I mean, I already look gorgeous, so.
Yeah, see, I need a bunch of makeup to get me to that level. So, you know, I'll let you do the you know, sleeping in the car and staying on the set and everything, because you got that natural beauty.
Well, I still haven't gotten my trailer yet. You know, my
it's
personal.
Coming. It's coming. Yeah,
it's
coming. I'll just keep saying it on every project. Oh yeah, next one, Adam.
But
we'll get you a trailer.
One of the most memorable things sometimes on a film are sometimes the things that go wrong. Like, you know, all the things that go right are great, but sometimes it's the things that go wrong that you look back and you laugh, or you look back and you almost tear up because of those were such memorable times. It's definitely an interesting experience when you're on set. Seeing films nowadays, you'll look at a scene and you won't think much of it, like it's just a random scene, but how many tens of hundreds, maybe even hundreds of people are behind the camera, you know, making sure that there's no shine, making sure that, you know, the makeup's good, making sure that the boom's good. And it's so much, I have so much appreciation after working on something like 6 Feet from the Edge. And when it's all said and done, then the even harder fact of trying to, you know, drop it down to a 2-hour film, like I can't even imagine, you know, the tough calls it was, you know, all the blood, sweat, and tears you put into the production and then cutting something.
Yeah, that's always the hardest part, because, you know, I mean, like I said before, like when you create these projects, man, they become like it's like your child, you know, because you see it from birth, from before they're even born, you know, and it's like from the script, you know, from the page to the screen to the, you know, behind the scenes when you're actually shooting it, and then you see the final product, you know, and it's like your child that you're presenting to the world. And it's like, I mean, that's the best way I can kind of like describe it, is because you grow so attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
You grow so attached to this kind of idea, or this, you know, whatever vision that you had or have. And it's like, when you got to start cutting, and when I say cut, I mean, you got to cut, man. It's like, you got to cut with that fine knife. And when you think you're done cutting, you're just getting started.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You got to cut even more. And it's like, and it sounds painful, and it sounds like that's not really, why would you want to do that? But it's all for the sake of, literally, like, even now when I watch 6 Feet, there's still a bunch of places where I'd be like, oh, I'd cut that. I cut this. I trim that there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I have no regrets whatsoever with that project, and I'm very proud of it. But I mean, that's just the nature of things. You know, as we move along, as we learn, as we grow, we create this kind of image of this, you know, and it's like, it's tough to let that go. Kind of circling back to my conversation with my buddy over coffee yesterday. You know, I've kind of not grown out of, but kind of lost touch in certain senses with watching film. Like, I try to still watch films, you know. I try to, like, I've been watching Back to the Future trilogy the last several nights. I'm going to watch all 3. I'm going to watch number 3 tonight once we get done with our recording here. And, you know, that's a great one, and that's an old one, and I've seen it several times. I mean, I've probably seen that trilogy, I'd say 50 times. But it kind of saddens me in a sense, because a lot of the material that comes out in today's day and age, I just don't really have, nothing really strikes me anymore, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And especially when it comes to going to the theater, there's not much that really gets my attention anymore. And
I know a lot of the movies nowadays really aren't hitting the mark, but you still have like a handful of movies that are. And it takes a few times. Like, you'll go and see a couple clunkers, but then you'll see that one that just reminds you of your love. Or, you know, throw on Back to the Future, throw on Jaws, throw on you know, the good old classics that made you fall in love with movies in the beginning. In fact, I have a question for you, Paulie.
Mm-hmm.
Which did you think was better, Jaws or Back to the Future?
Shit.
Are those just in way different categories?
Oh, shit, man. Okay, so I'll tell you first and foremost, I cannot say one is better than the other, and I'll tell you why. Because Jaws came out at a time before the blockbuster was created. Mm. Jaws actually created the blockbuster. And the blockbuster, that term came from Jaws, because Jaws became such a huge hit and they released it in the summertime, and that was the beginning of this whole summertime blockbuster hit. They released it, and there were so many people standing on the block, on the sidewalk, waiting to go see this film that they literally broke the block.
Oh wow!
Hence,
I had no idea.
Yeah, so that's where that term came from. Was from Jaws. So Jaws is that film that's one of the most iconic films ever created, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And Steven Spielberg has a great story, and I've got nothing but respect and admiration for him and his career. And I love the fact that he is still going to this day. Like that, man, he's a beast, man, and he just doesn't stop. And I've got nothing but good things to say about it. And he also is one of the main producers on Back to the Future. So it's, you know what I mean? Like he's smart. He's very smart when it comes to, the projects that he is involved in. And now obviously his career, he's older now, and he's doing different things like Lincoln, like we brought that one up. And, these and they're all good though. Most of his films I've ever seen, a Spielberg film, I mean, I can't tell you off the top of my head a bad film, but I could tell you 10 good ones. You know what I mean? So it's like, I wouldn't say it's necessarily comparing apples and oranges, but I would say that Jaws has a special place in my heart because of what it created, what it stands for. Now, if we're comparing trilogies, I would say Back to the Future, like Jaws 2 and 3 and stuff like that. Like, I don't even remember those, honestly.
I mean, don't.
So if we're gonna compare like full trilogy, like honestly, Back to the Future, in my opinion, is probably the most well put together trilogy, like as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I love in Back to the Future how literally the one will end and then the second one basically starts at the end of the previous one. So it's almost like a cliffhanger. Like right at the beginning, right at the end of the first one, Doc leaves, comes back, and he's like, "We gotta go." Like, wait, Doc, I was about to take my girl out on her drive. Yeah. No, we gotta go now. And
they jump in the car and they fly off. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like that's. I will say this: out of the trilogy of Back to the Future, number one is my favorite. It's just that film is just so good, and I've always had this fascination with film and how they have this magnificent capability to turn the clocks back. I've always had this fascination since I was a kid, and I don't know why, but since I was a kid, the 1950s especially, really, I was like, whoa, because my grandfather and I had this really good bond, and we had a bond over cars, working on cars and stuff like that. And he grew up wrenching on cars in the 50s, so he would tell me the stories about the 50s and this and that, and I was just like, whoa. So it was just a fascinating time to me. And when I saw Back to the Future, and I still see it, I'm a kid in the candy store, dude. My eyes are wide. I'm sitting there looking, I smile ear to ear. It's just a good time. It's a good film. Makes you feel good. Now, Jaws doesn't necessarily make me feel good. But when I was a kid, at least. It does now because I look at it in a different kind of aspect, But when I was a kid, I was scared. I was scared to death of that damn shark.
Oh yeah.
And but I mean, yeah, it's. I could never say one's better than the other, but I think they're good in their own, or they're great, and or literally probably the best of their own. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And again, Back to the Future trilogy, in my opinion, is probably the best, most well put together trilogy of films ever.
And I remember what you said just before that was about respecting film, and J.J. Abrams, he might not be your favorite. He's had some good films, and he's had some films that you might not have liked. But I remember when we were on set, and I forgot what it was. I think it was Mark's film. But I remember someone, we were taking a break, and he just comes in the room and, I hate Tom Cruise, or he just said something like, he's just the worst. And then you even said like, well, how is he the worst? And then the guy's, like, you can't just say someone's the worst and then,
that's strictly his, that's all personal. Whatever his personal issues are with Tom, that's what he was speaking on.
Then you brought up, he does his own stunts, this, that. Yes, he has, political beliefs in Scientology, but, well, probably not anymore. But you brought up,
right.
You opened up a debate, and he was in no ability to have a legitimate debate because
I remember that because that was in the break room, right?
Yeah, because when you debate with someone, you got to listen to what they say as much as what you say, and he wasn't giving you a second of, respect or the ability to debate you. And, people like and people dislike other people for reasons. But if you're going to say something like, oh, I hate this certain actor for a reason, like have the reason, have like a laid out, this is why I don't like him. I'll respect your decision. But it's not going to be my observation, but it's yours. And at least you came to that consensus with actual what you think, not just, oh, he sucks because of some Facebook thing I read about him or something like that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That was kind of my thing too. I was like, I remember asking him, I told him to name one film. I might even give him more than one, but he couldn't name any films that were bad.
Yeah.
Films. Like Tom Cruise is like, and he's a great example of basically a dying breed. He's the last great movie star, if you ask me. He's, because films these days, they don't cast an actor based on the actor. You know what I mean? They cast the actor based on the role. So it's more like, okay, you could put pretty much anybody in a role for, Thor or Superman or a comic hero, and it's going to do well because it's the character that's driving that in the box office, right? Mm-hmm. So like Tom comes from an era where it was like anything that you put him in, because it's Tom Cruise and he's the star, that's what's going to sell the piece. Mm-hmm. But it's just a different animal now. Once you took that away and you started putting comic book heroes that are larger than life and bigger than humans and superhuman and all this stuff, it took that away. I think it's an element that took it away, of course. And now you can pay, like the studios will pay the comic book actors much, much less. Tom Cruise at one point in time, I know he had a $20 million price tag. You got to pay him $20 million to get into a film. And it's like, okay, so like, and the studios, and I get it too. They call it show business for a reason. It's not show art. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's show business.
It's not show charity. Either.
No, it's not show charity. Not at all. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so they're gonna do what they're gonna do because it's their money, and it makes sense. It totally does. But basically, he's like the last of that. I think I don't know about ever, but at least at this moment in time, he's the last of that. He's the last of the last great movie star, and he's still to this day, like, he's got Top Gun 2 coming out. It's supposed to come out summer, but of course COVID. So now it's going to come out in I want to say Christmas time, like December. Now that's a film that I will go to the theater to see. I will gladly pay whatever amount to go see that film in the actual theater. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And even before COVID though, I was thinking about this. I was having this thought like, man, when was the last time I actually went to the theater? It was probably Star Wars. It was probably the one I didn't like, the most recent one, And it's just the industry, it is what it is. And like most actors these days are doing, straight to streaming and stuff like that, which I wouldn't necessarily compare that. Like I heard a lot of people kind of putting a negative connotation with straight to streaming, trying to say it's like, oh, that's the new B movie or straight to DVD, thing. I wouldn't necessarily say that. Because Netflix is doing their thing, man. I heard they just bought, was it Paramount? So
I bet.
Yeah, they're doing that, and then now that I think it's Paramount. I'm not positive, but I think they just bought a studio. So now that's going to make their work. I think there's some fine print or something where in order to be eligible for the Oscars, you have to operate as a studio or something like that. I don't know, but now they found their workaround. So watch out, because Netflix, regardless of the whole thing, circling back to the beginning of our conversation with cuties, there's going to be some backlash. Yeah, there's going to be some people who don't want to support Netflix. And I think that's a good thing, because I think you should exercise your right to not support something based on your moral beliefs and values. I think that's important. I think it's especially important for people in my industry to stand by what they believe in, be steadfast in your beliefs and your core values, because if you don't have that, what the hell do you have? At the end of the day, all that money that you're getting paid to do whatever, you can't take it with you, and it's like that saying I just heard recently. It's like, I would much rather be the happiest man on the way to the graveyard than the richest man in the graveyard. So, for me, I come from very humble beginnings, I didn't come from money. So like now I'm getting at a stage now to where I'm enjoying the fruits of my labor that I've been putting in for all these years. It's like, but that to me, that's nothing, dude. That's like, it is what it is. Take it away tomorrow. I'm still going to be me. I'm still going to be positive and happy, and I'm still going to live this life to the utmost. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's kind of one of these things I coach with these young kids that are trying to get in the industry and whatnot. I really, really want to instill that, stay true to who you are and what you believe in. Don't sell yourself. Don't sell your soul. Don't sell, don't sell anything for, there's people say, oh, things are for sale for the right price. Not always, man. Not always.
Yeah.
So anyway,
exactly.
kind of bringing this to a close, I just wanted to get your feedback on this stuff. And I also wanted to see what you thought about, like, where the industry is right now and where it's headed. I kind of wanted to get your feedback and kind of taking into consideration the theater thing we're talking about and the streaming services that we're talking about, because obviously the Walt is headed to a streaming network.
My 2 cents on this whole thing is, yes, there are those glitzy and glamorous movies that are going to be, the blockbuster, quote unquote, but I feel like the independent filmmaker and the independent, producer is still a big part of this. And, every time when I watch like the Oscars or, award-winning shows, a lot of those movies are made on a bare minimum budget. Like, I think it was Matthew McConaughey got paid $9,000 to do Dallas Buyers Club, or like Arnold Schwarzenegger did a movie called Maggie where he didn't take a single cent because he wanted to get a movie out there that was not just about blowing stuff up. He wanted to get something out there that, showed that, he's a legitimate actor. And there's every single year, there's handfuls and handfuls of movies that are made on shoestring budgets, or, that are just more to the core of what acting is and not just big explosions, topless scenes like in Fast and Furious movies. Like, as great as, as cool as they are, there's not much actual acting that goes on in like a Fast and the Furious movie. And, I wasn't on the set. I wasn't, there. So I don't know, what it was like on the set. But, when I see a movie like, Peanut Butter Falcon or The Lighthouse, where, it's more story driven and it's more like, it's more about the acting, like I just fall head over heels for it. And I just can't stop, watching these smaller films that, are more to the core of what acting is.
Yeah, man, I agree. I like that a lot, and I feel the same. I feel the same that, like, I think a lot of the industry is headed that way. I don't think the studio systems are necessarily going to go away, but I think that the independent filmmaker is the wave of the future because of the fact that there's so many options for the independent filmmaker to put their work out there in today's day and age, and it's like, yeah, there is something to be said, man. There is something to be said about these people who go out there and are ready to go to war on nothing, no money. And they're ready to go guerrilla style. They're really ready to run and gun. They're ready to shoot the shit out of something because it's something that they believe in. We have, you got, okay, well, we're fighting with daylight. We gotta utilize this daylight to the best of our ability. And we've only got today to shoot it. That's the kind of stuff where you pull out, like, that's where miracles happen, and that's the stuff that, like, it just, you look back on that and you create what you create and you basically leave it out there. And for me, I'm a big believer in God. So, like, I leave it out there for God, and I let him basically, let the bricks, fall where they may. I leave it out there for him to decide what's best for me and best for my product that I put out there. So
exactly. And what oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, one other last point for me is, on that day in the Walt, one of the last days, and this is a little behind the scenes for those listening, is we went until like 2 or 3 in the morning, and here, like, the actors were tired, the crew was tired, but at the same time we pushed through because it wasn't a big Hollywood production of people like looking at their lawyers saying, I haven't gotten my 10-minute break. No, it was a group of people that wanted to make something awesome, and that's what we did.
Yeah, and again, there's something to be said for that, because it's like when you take money out of the equation, because, we're all trying to do the best we can with basically nothing, you take money out of the equation and you just put a group of people together that are all there for the common goal of this piece of art. We want to present the best piece of art possible to the world. There's just something to be said for that, man. And I just feel like whenever I'm on the set, you know me, whenever I'm on the set, I'm totally in my element. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? Yeah, there's times to focus, there's times to joke around, there's times to do this and that. And, obviously that's another thing why we love to have you on the set, because you lighten the mood. You keep everybody nice and happy, because as we know, tensions can run high on sets. Stress levels are pretty high, especially on independent sets, right? So
yeah. Always have a comedic person on set. Like, always. No matter how you can find them, no matter how you can, get them there, have someone who can say a joke on the top of their mind, because
keep the mood light. Got to keep the mood light. You got to keep people laughing. Got to keep people having a good time, especially on these independent sets, because let's be honest, it's just like you just brought it up. It's people running on fumes. We're running on fumes there, trying to get this stuff done and trying to do it to the best of our ability. And, like I said, there's just something to be said for that. So I have so much respect for my whole cast and crew on this project, on The Wall, and all the other ones that are out there doing their thing too, and or striving to do their thing. Maybe they're just, writing the script right now, even that's a step. That's a step, and it's a step-by-step process. So it's like, you take those steps and it will unfold in front of you. I guarantee you that. So it's the same thing. You get on set, I don't know how this or that's going to unfold. You plan to the best of your ability, because if you, like I always say, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. It's like preparing to fail. Prepared, you know what I mean? It's like this whole concept, because you have to go into it prepared.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah, it's I definitely feel the same. I feel like the industry is headed more in that direction, like this Peanut Butter Falcon type stuff. And I think that maybe the next generation, who knows, maybe the next generation, maybe their attention span will get a little longer, to where we can have some more types of thought-provoking film. You know what I mean?
You can only
hope. One can hope.
You can only hope. Yeah.
So, but yeah. Anyway, in closing, Adam, I just wanted to say thank you for jumping on and joining me here. I know you and I have been trying to get you on one of these podcast episodes for a while now. So although we're remote, it's still a pleasure to have you on.
Anytime. I'm always available. I always love talking. So sometimes it's hard to get me to stop talking.
We know. I think everybody knows you love talking.
Well, hey, good, my dad always taught me, if you don't ask, it's already a no. So and he got me into filmmaking. He told me that he couldn't teach me a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, but he could show me some good movies. And, that I always appreciate growing up. It's very rare when Paulie finds a movie that I haven't seen. And I'm always, I got to go watch that, because it's very rare if I've ever not seen a movie.
True.
That I love the ability to go see movies, and especially classics. I've watched them all.
Yeah, which is actually kind of funny, because you and I are pretty much like 10 years apart, right? We're two different
literally
generations.
10.
Yeah, literally 10 years apart. And when, you and I first started talking about film, I was like, there's no way this kid knows all this. There's no way he knows about these films. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? He doesn't know about this film. So I hit you another one. Yeah, that one's da-da-da. I'm like, okay. What about this one? Oh, yeah, that one's da-da-da-da. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Well, most kids born in the 90s don't know about these films, And
just letting you all know, I got my first, we really started our friendship when he told me he was making movies, and I literally said, if you need someone to die in the background, I'm your guy. And since then, we've been really, really like best friends since.
Totally, dude. That was good. That was back when we were waiting tables at Red Lobster.
Red Lobster. Hey, we all have a start somewhere.
That's it, dude. Those are the good old days, man. Red Lobster was fun times, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
it was good times. We were waiting tables, and I think I was leaving at that time, wasn't I, to go film and to.
You were just about to leave, but you came back.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. So, and when I got back, that's when we started linking up and getting you on the set, right?
Oh yeah. I wasn't about to let another opportunity go. It's my turn to shine. I'm ready for my close up.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. And that's another thing you've done too. You've been an extra in pretty much all the films, right?
I'm my head's somewhere.
Yeah, you're always in there somewhere.
Yeah.
In 6 feet, you play like 4 or 5 different people.
Yeah. I'm like your hidden Mickey in 6 feet. Like,
yeah.
Oh, there's my head. Oh, that's the back of my
dude,
head.
It's like looking for Where's Waldo.
Yeah. Well, hey, Paulie, I gotta go, man. But it was great being on, and definitely anytime you need me, I'm here for you.
Cool, man. Yeah, we'll get you on another call soon, and we'll come up with we'll see what everybody thinks about everything, and we'll try to see what else anybody wants us to talk about, because you and I can go on about a lot of different stuff, dude.
Sounds good, man.
All right, brother. We'll see you on the next one, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Such a pleasure to have Adam on. He's such a good guy, and like I said, in the beginning, we become really good friends since he first joined the team, and now we collaborate all the time. So anyway, this was a first time we've had anybody join us on the show. It was remote, but at the same time, I would like to get more guests onto the show, whether it be remote or live in the studio. We are starting to do more studio recordings now in Hollywood. So there's a great chance that we can get some more live recordings of some guests. And I've also spoke about getting my co-star from The Walt, Mariah Boone, getting her on the show, and we could talk about the audition process all the way to when she wrapped, and just talk about that whole process of what it's like to film. And this was her first kind of major project too. So lots to talk about, lots of people to join us in the future. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment, send us an email, hit us up on Instagram. We look forward to hearing from you guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next one.